Ric Bucher joins us. Let's transition to hoops. Okay, so Lakers have LeBron back and Anthony Davis back. Are they both definitely playing tonight?
From everything I've heard, yes, that's the plan. This is the last gas effort. They actually could have used it the last time because they can't win the tiebreaker with New Orleans now. New Orleans haven't won the first two, but my understanding is, this is the last go. I have seen this before with AD. So if you're asking me, is the plan for them to play? Yes, the plan is for them to play. We need to get through shoot around and pregame warm up before I would say anything is 1,000%.
Right, wrap him in bubble wrap. Right, wrap him in bubble wrap, and hope he gets through layup lines.
One of those warm up jumpers from the free throw line might cause something. So we shall see.
Okay, it's going to be fascinating to see if they can solidify their spot in the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
But here's the real question. Okay, they're obviously, if healthy, it feels like better than the play-in tournament. But what is the legit feeling of their ability to pull off an upset if they survive the play-in tournament?
Well, with Chris Paul back now and with Anthony Davis not doing them any favors by suggesting that last year was a fluke, I honestly don't know that they helped themselves or that AD helped themselves, because if Phoenix was going to coast or think about coasting past them and let them steal a game and make that series difficult, you can forget about that. Phoenix has something to prove now. And the issue is that even when the Lakers get it together and play well, and they have done that at various times for various quarters, they just don't have the ability to sustain it. They don't have the requisite ability to play focused and intense for 48 minutes. And whether that's age or whether it's the lack of depth or whatever it might be, we've just seen that time and time again. There's times where defensively they look good. Offensively, they look good. But they have not been able to carry that through 4 quarters. And the intensity is only going to ratchet up another level in the postseason. So for all the reasons that I thought that they could be dangerous over the last several weeks, and yes, they're getting AD back, and they haven't had LeBron and AD for a while, but they were a 500 team with AD and LeBron. So it's not as if there's this dramatic shift in what their ability is when they have both of those guys on the floor. I just look at it as a team that had aspirations of playing for a title. Guys came in there with the idea that they were playing for a championship. And now there's nobody in that locker room who believes that they're playing for a championship. So it becomes, well, then what the hell are we doing this for? And it's really easy to let go of the rope or give in when things get tough, when you've lost sight of what it was that you were after to begin with.
I offer up this is a possible solution. Again, you and I operate in the real world of sports, not the let's make the most outlandish statement of things that can never happen, right?
Yeah.
So when I say, again, I would very much consider trading LeBron if not only you get a bounty in return, but also you latch on Russell Westbrook's contract to it, right? Because in order to get rid of Russell Westbrook's contract, no one's just going to go like, oh, hey, why don't you give us that contract, and here we'll give you cap relief, right? And, maybe we'll give you some draft picks, too, to help. Like, that's not the way the world works. You know, you got to give to get, and if you're going to give away Russell Westbrook's contract, you're going to get a bad contract in return, right? Granted, at least it expires. Is it a possibility to link those two together in order to rebuild this franchise?
I just don't see it because it's such a massive amount of money between the two contracts. That's a huge amount of money. And I just think it would be difficult. I would say that there's a better chance that they move Anthony Davis and that they look for some young athletic pieces. Now, what complicates all of this?
You mean like all the guys they trade away to get Anthony Davis in return for Anthony Davis?
No, exactly. It's basically it's a do-over. It's a mulligan, but that's what you need around LeBron James at this stage. And LeBron is at the level where you're not trading him unless he wants to go, and you're not trading him to someplace unless he wants to be there. And for all the reasons that he moved to LA, I just don't see LeBron at this stage with Bronny with another year in high school, and that he's looking to move anywhere or go anywhere. The importance of family has risen in his sphere, and so I think he likes where he lives. It's certainly, for his entertainment production and development company, it's the right place to be. So I don't see LeBron being party to, no matter what he said about, I could see myself back in Cleveland even. I don't see him moving. I think if they want to hit the reset, there's a much better chance that they try to move Anthony Davis and, as you said, get the package that they gave away to get Anthony Davis or Russell Westbrook, one of the two, because I think it's safe to say that they would be in much better shape right now if they had not given the farm away for Russell Westbrook.
Does Pelinka survive the purge?
As of right now, yes, because of the relationship with the Rambises. This is where it gets kind of tricky, is right. Figuring out exactly how much of what's being done is Pelinka making executive orders and Pelinka simply doing the bidding of the Rambises and Jeannie Buss and LeBron James. I don't get the sense that Rob is working with a free hand and making all these decisions, and he's simply taking the bullets. And there are plenty of people who run their organizations this way, where the guy out front takes all the grief, and he's actually not the one making the decisions, and he gets to keep his job because he quietly accepts all of the grief.
Ric Bucher from Fox Sports and Fox Sports 1 joins us. Doug Gottlieb for Colin. This is The Herd. Last night, pretty good basketball game between Brooklyn and the Milwaukee Bucks. I thought huge for the Bucks just because, like last year in the playoffs, when Kyrie was healthy, the Nets were the far better team. Mm-hmm. Giannis was amazing. Durant misses what would have been a game-winning shot. Mm-hmm. What is your takeaway in watching that matchup?
I thought it was a huge psychological boost for the Milwaukee Bucks, and it is a reflection of how much they've grown since last year. We've seen it repeatedly with they're playing the best teams, and they have out-executed them down the stretch. And the fact that they did it last night with Chris Middleton missing the last 5 minutes because of a flagrant foul penalty when he brought down Bruce Brown, I thought it was just massive. It was KD and Giannis going head-to-head. Giannis showing no fear, missed 2 free throws, missed a pull-up jumper over KD. I love the show of just seeing two guys who not only trying to win the game, but willing to go at each other, willing to guard each other. I loved it. That's what I want to see out of guys that are vying for the recognition as the best player in the league. And Giannis came through with the big 3 in regulation, came through with the free throws in the end that ended up being the difference maker. And I think the other thing you saw was, even without Chris Middleton, the ability of the Bucks to integrate all of their pieces, particularly the heart of it, Giannis and Drew Holiday, is those pieces fit. They can offensively play off of each other. Kyrie and KD can't. Watching them was reminiscent of watching Oklahoma City with KD and Russ. It was your turn, my turn, and that's an Achilles heel for the Brooklyn Nets, because it's difficult to find a way to make both of those guys a threat on the same set, and it's not the case with the Bucks.
Likelihood that Ben Simmons plays this year?
I just don't see it. I don't know where he is with his back, but the combination of him not playing all year long, that he hasn't been able to do a whole lot of conditioning. I mean, even with with Steph and his sprained foot. He's in the pool. He's doing a variety of things to try to maintain his conditioning, and he played the better part of this year. So I would expect Steph has the opportunity to come back. Having a back issue, not having played all year, and then this time of year teams don't practice a whole lot, so his opportunity to get into real 5-on-5 runs and ratchet up that, and the fact that it's a back issue, which are always tricky. I just don't see a way in which Ben Simmons. I almost think it would be negligent if they tried to bring him back and have him play. I mean, can he even get in any regular season games? And if he can't get any regular season games, I'm not bringing a guy back who hasn't played all year and throwing him into the intensity of a playoff game.
Yeah, no. It's too, this to me, it reeks of, if you remember, when Derrick Rose was hurt and people wondered why he wouldn't play when he was cleared to play in the playoffs. And I think, look, honestly, Jamal Murray's in the same position here with Denver, right?
Yep.
Like, if this were November, you go like, all right, so you go play in the G League, and then you get ready, and then we'll throw you in some games. You play a couple minutes, you slowly kind of ramp up. The problem is, it's not – the basketball is a completely different level once you get to the playoffs. Yep. And to go from 0 to 100 – you go from 0 to 50, you can't go from 0 to 100. And so same question, Jamal Murray. Chance he plays before the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah. I don't see it with either guy. And again, for another comparison, it's a little bit different with Paul George and the elbow, because Paul George could be doing all kinds of leg work and conditioning work and waiting for the elbow to get right. And
he's also got a couple weeks of games. He's also got a couple weeks of games. Like, if you can get regular season games in and play, then you can play in the playoffs. But you can't go, hey, now I'm going to play. I'm ready to go in the playoffs. Let's go. Like, that doesn't. There's no way.
Yeah. No, the circumstances are completely different, and I get why you hold out hope, but I've just been waiting. I've been waiting for the announcement that Ben Simmons isn't going to play this season because of the circumstances.
Okay. In the West, you have Memphis is kind of sticking out their chest, right? And Golden State, and obviously you saw some of the trash talk from Draymond the other night. Of course, he also didn't have Clay, and he didn't have Steph.
Yeah.
Everyone I know talk to in the league says Memphis is a real team. Like, that's a real team. But is it a real playoff team? There's a distinction there. What do you think?
It's a fair question. I feel as if have all the respect in the world for Taylor Jenkins and the job that he's doing. I love the composition of their team. For people that are bagging on Ja Morant and the fact and his MVP chances, because the Memphis Grizzlies are 18-2 without him, I believe is not fair. It is a unique group of guys that they have the ability to compensate for the absence of Ja. Tyus Jones being the most efficient backup point guard you could ever hope for, leading the league in assists to turnovers. They've got such great complementary role players, and Taylor Jenkins does such a great job of putting each one of them in their sweet spot. It reminds me a little bit of Rick Adelman and his unique ability to do that. I think they're for real, and I think they're for real in part because I look around the West and
everybody's good, but everybody's got a flaw, and everybody's got some sort of injury that leads you to believe they're fallible.
That's exactly it. It's not like they've got to go through this gauntlet of proven, tested teams in the postseason. I mean, Dallas. What is Dallas? Dallas has a bunch of new pieces, and and Luka's never won a round, so he's in the same boat as Ja in terms of. Do you really know how to close out a series? Do you know how to win a series? And I mean, the rest of it. Golden State is relying on guys like Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, guys who haven't been there either. And so I think they are legit, and they got a chip on their shoulder, and I like that. And Ja has demonstrated that he's one of those guys. I was a little surprised to look at it. Like, his numbers last year in the playoffs are better than any regular season averages that he has. He's a guy who can elevate his game in the postseason, and not every guy can do that. And I believe that's part of what drives this Memphis team. A lot. You mentioned Derrick Rose with Chicago. I think that one of the reasons Memphis plays the way they do is because they have such faith that if we can get there, we got a guy who can take us to places that we by ourselves can't. But with Ja Morant, we're capable of doing something special. I think that inspires that entire Grizzlies team, even when Ja isn't on the floor.
The Celtics, it's like a tale of two seasons, right? I mean, look like a disaster for Ime Udoka early in the year.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Jason Tatum decided, okay, I'll be one of the 5 best scorers in the league. I'll stop missing shots.
Yep.
You know, they get Marcus Smart healthy, and now they're kicking everybody's ass. And then Robert Williams gets hurt, who's just a crazy athlete. And again, it's kind of one of those, he fits into how they play and who they are. They lose him, and it changes. What are their prospects when losing their athletic young center before the playoffs?
I'm actually writing a piece on this for next week because I asked this question of any number of I've got 3 or 4 scouts that I've already spoken to, and they've mirrored kind of what my feeling was. And this is with or without Robert Williams, which is they're making the most out of what they are, but can they go to another level? Can they elevate in the postseason? And there are doubts about that. There are doubts about them, and there are doubts about the Miami Heat for the same reason.
Yep.
It still comes back to, do you have the players that can elevate your team or take your team to the next level? And for the same reason that I believe in Memphis with Ja, can Jason Tatum be that guy every night? And if he's not, can Jaylen Brown step in and win you a game or two? There are reservations as to whether they're capable of that. A lot of feeling that, and I've made the comparison, like the San Antonio Spurs post Tim Duncan being the best player. As those guys got older, they were still winning 50, 55 games every season, but you knew that they couldn't take that next step in the postseason. They were just maximizing what they were on a nightly basis and had a great record because of it. Boston Celtics are seen in the same light.
Buke, last thing. Manu gets into the Naismith Memorial Hall of Fame. Look, people would like to crush me on this, but I believe it to be true. I think I think he changed the sport more so than Dirk did. I think he's the most influential foreign player and maybe best foreign player we've had. Now, it's hard because Dirk was the MVP of the league. He was a great scorer. And Manu was with more Hall of Famers, right? And they had a longer run.
Yep.
It's very, very different. But I like to point out, dude, Argentina went from nothing to winning a world championship and winning a gold medal. He won 2 championships when he's in Europe. He won all those titles with the Spurs. He basically, he brought kind of flopping to the NBA. Versatile, hard to replace.
I think Vlade Divac would have something to say about that.
Okay. That's really the conversation there, right? Is of these foreign-born players, like everybody has their guy. I think he's in that conversation of most influential guy that changed the sport.
Yeah, the greatest difficulty for me, and it's an edgy position by you, but there's a lot to support it. Unless you're around that San Antonio team and you knew Pop, you can't possibly know what Manu meant to that team. And to me, like when people say that Tony Parker is above Manu, they didn't watch those games. They didn't watch who closed. They didn't watch who had the ball in his hands at the end of games. And here's the difficulty is that Manu, as a result of Tony was not good coming off of the bench. So they started him, and they didn't want to play Tony and Manu at the same time because it was just a little too duplicative. When you played Manu, he was the playmaker. So they closed games with him, and they brought him off the bench. But when you come off the bench, you're playing against generally a different caliber of player. And so he never had to start and go against the best of the best. So it's hard to grade exactly what Manu accomplished. But to me, he truly was the playmaker and the engine and the go-to guy of those San Antonio teams, and without question, he was the man on those Argentina teams because I saw those live, and I was around that team. So the difficulty is that he made a concession, like he didn't care. He's one of those weird guys where he has all the confidence in the world, but he has no ego as far as his game and how he fits, what recognition he gets. But he was at the heart of those San Antonio championship teams. And again, like you talk about Dirk and being an MVP and all that, like I was there for that championship win over Miami. And that was as much Jason Terry and Jason Kidd and a number of guys, J.J. Barea, stepping up and carrying the water when Dirk could not hit a shot, particularly in the first half of the closeout game,
right?
And then came along for the ride in the second. Like, I could not feel more different about who was clutch between Manu and Dirk, and that sounds crazy to anybody.
Yeah, if I remember, Dirk he won game 2. I think he almost won like on his own. He closed that thing out. But without question, he had his moments, and he's a great player. I don't want to take anything away. I get what you're saying. Let me wrap up with this, okay? Scotty Brooks, obviously a close friend of mine. I know you know him really well. And what his point was always, when you prepped for San Antonio, it was harder to prep for Manu Ginobili than it was even Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
And he was absolutely a focal point. And it's just hard for people to understand because the numbers for the most part aren't there, but the numbers aren't there because he didn't play as many minutes, and it was a different role. Buke, we got to run. I appreciate it. Great stuff. And obviously it feels like we're going to have an awesome playoffs because there really is a lot of questions as to who's that good at that level. Should be awesome. Thanks, Buke.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Doug.